Hi, I'm Jackie with Amplify Desmos Math, and as a former math teacher, I tried to avoid getting the question, when will I use this in real life? Because what I strived to do was really make the students see that everything we were learning in math served a purpose in their real life. So I'm going to be sharing a couple of tips, some different ideas for how you can incorporate different activities in your math classroom, outside of your math classroom, that help students really get engaged because they see the connection to their real life experiences. Now, one way you can start this, even with your youngest students, is implementing math routines maybe into your daily structure of your classroom. So as students walk in the door, maybe they're thinking about attendance and they're able to count how many students are here, how many students are absent, how many students are leaving early today. Another way you can have them see math in this early morning routine is with a lunch count. Maybe you have your lunch count as a graph on the board and students are putting their name, or maybe if you have numbers assigned to your students, that they're able to stack up their numbers and see, hey, what students chose this option, how many more students chose this option than this option for lunch today. And they're able to see math in their daily routines. Another way to have students see math throughout the day and really connect with their daily lives is through transition times. Maybe you're setting a timer and they're able to see, if I have 2 minutes to clean up, what do I need to prioritize? Maybe you're able to think about transition times of how long it might take us to get to lunch if we leave now, and really just having them see that math lives throughout our entire day and is not just isolated to the time in our schedule that says math. But in that time that does say math on our schedule, how can we also increase student engagement by connecting what we're learning to their real life? One way that is really great to do this throughout all grades, because I know data shows up a lot, is to have students collect their own data. And then they're able to, in your classroom with you, represent the data in whatever type of graph you're learning about. Maybe it's a picture graph or a bar graph or a pie chart or a line plot. And then you're able to have students maybe go home and ask their parents or family or friends or community a question and collect their own data. Or maybe you just have them do it in the classroom and students walk around the classroom with a little clipboard and say, what is your favorite color out of these options? And the students, they tally them up and get to see, I collected my own data, and then it gives them ownership in what they're learning. And then they're able to see their data come to life in whatever representation you are learning about in your classroom in that unit. Another great opportunity to implement some type of student buy-in and student engagement with their real life is in a measurement unit. Any unit that deals with measurement, whether it's the metric or customary units, you can have students choose their own objects to measure. Say we're measuring with a ruler and you want students to measure in centimeters. And you could say, should we measure the door this way? Or maybe we should measure our shoes this way. And then students can get that, wait, this is real life. If I am measuring a door, I don't want to measure in centimeters because that would take me a lot of centimeters to get to the height of the door. But if I'm measuring something smaller, like my shoe, centimeters can make sense, and really give them that, I am going to be using this in my real life. And here's a way that I can use it and use what I know about measurement in order to measure certain things. Maybe this is your youngest students and you're measuring with counting cubes, and you may have them go pick their own object from their backpack or bring something in, their favorite stuffed animal or their favorite object at home, to bring in and measure. Again, bringing in that student engagement, giving them that additional buy-in because it's something that they care about, is a great way to increase student engagement by using something that they would find in their real life. Another opportunity, especially when we're dealing with money, is budgeting. And this is such a real life connection. Maybe they get to go grocery shopping with their parents. Maybe you hold a different type of grocery shopping experience in your classroom where students have a certain amount of money and they have to spend less than they have in order to leave the grocery store with the items that they want. And you set up a little play shop in your classroom where students have to think about, what can I spend? What will I have left over? So anytime you're dealing with maybe decimals and money, that's a great way to get students that real life connection that, oh, I know people do this in the real world and I will have to do this as I get older. Another great opportunity to even bring in students' home life into that student engagement piece is to think about recipe scaling. Now, you could give your students a recipe and say, hey, I'm having a party this weekend and I need to double this recipe so that I can serve everyone at my party. And then you have the students think about how that recipe needs to change. And then they can figure out maybe how the recipe needs to be halved if you don't have as many people coming to your party. Or maybe you ask students to come in with a recipe that is special to them and their family and their community, and they get to scale their own individual recipe. Anything that gets students really seeing the value in something that you're learning in your classroom and how it does connect to their real life experience and how they can increase engagement because they have a bit of a piece of themselves or something that they care about within the math is a great way to really bring some student experience and get them to see, hey, this does matter in the real life. And this is not just isolated to math class. I can see where I can use this outside of math class, and I can see how this is important to me and my life. So I hope that these tips and ideas help you find different ways to increase student engagement and connect what you're learning in math class or outside of math class to their real life.